Join me in welcoming Grady Hawley.
We also have that height thing. This is almost as tall as you are. I can joke with him like that. It's okay. So, wow. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, really? And really? You're going to have me go after all of these people? I mean, this is not what I do on a day in and day out basis. I'm a business guy. I mean, you talk about facts and figures. In fact, by the way, my name is Grady Hawley, and software company. I actually have a PowerPoint too, but I don't think it's up there. But that's okay. We don't need it. Oh, okay. Well, there's some self-promotion for you. I don't invest my time in or innovate in all of these charitable things that people are doing, but it is something that drives me. It's something that gives me passion. In fact, I look at all of these different stories through a marketplace type lens, and I think that there's a lot of people in our church today that are really high capacity people. They maybe have very little margin, but they really want to contribute, both personally and through the church, and a lot of times they just don't know how to get started. It can be extremely complex, and we need to get the church involved. And the fuel behind the church, I think, as a marketplace person, is a lot of marketplace people. They have great ideas. They have a lot to contribute. You know, my heart breaks when I hear these stories. And I want to be involved in these same things. Like Ray talking about Jimmy. I mean, yeah, let's get that. I mean, I want to go do that. I want to be there. But I have my job. I mean, Pete, I don't even have an Indian village. I mean, we got a long ways to go. Thanks. And I'm going to hit you up on that. And I have all these questions with all of this stuff. That's why I'm going to go home and take a nap after all this today. This has been unbelievable. But you know, I think there's a lot of people that want to help themselves, and that just makes sense, especially when we're talking and listening to the people that are explaining what they've been doing out in the field. They're actually making it happen. They desire the dignity to help themselves. Developing the sustainable solutions is very hard work. I mean, I think that's kind of the theme of all of these SAT talks. It's complex. And the marketplace people have a lot to contribute, especially in the church. I think a lot of times, though, they don't necessarily feel like their voice can be heard. Or maybe the way that they get things done isn't the traditional way of getting things done inside the church. And they struggle with that. It's going to take, if we're going to start tackling a lot of these larger community development type initiatives, we have to combine the efforts of marketplace people and ministry people. I think I'm behind on my slides too. There we go. We need to change the perspective in everything, really, for everything from raising money to the way that marketplace and ministry people communicate and talk together. It's somewhat awkward sometimes in some of those marketplace and ministry meetings, just in the different types of languages and the agendas that we each share. So, you know, it's funny, marketplace people, they don't have a problem talking about money. In fact, they like to. They like to understand how all the numbers fit. They want to see how all the pieces fit together. I haven't had that same experience in many of my ministry meetings that I've sat in. It's not generally a topic of conversation, but wouldn't it be cool if we could start to change the perspective of how we talk about giving? I mean, the things that I'm going to talk about are pretty high level and pretty remedial to some of you, but we need to change this perspective from a donation to charity type mentality to this investment type mentality. In fact, I wish I would have heard a lot of these stories before I even wrote this. It's been unbelievable and, again, mind-blowing to hear what people are doing. I think from a business person perspective and a marketplace perspective, if we see this as an investment, we're more likely to align with that vision and give possibly even more. I know a lot of marketplace people, they're asked for donations on a pretty regular basis, and they know that these asks are going to probably come again and again, maybe month after month, maybe even year after year. And there's no foreseeable end in sight until that inevitable day when they're going to have to tell somebody that they can't support them anymore. This is your typical donor fatigue. So, yeah. Big downer, right? It sounds heartless to some, but I've had enough conversations with business people and generous donors to know that this is a pretty common topic of conversation. You know, business people, they look at this style of donating as an operational expense. It's the thing that they, in fact, spend all day, every day trying to shave off, trying to cut down. If we took more of a capital expense or maybe an investment, maybe into a sustainable startup type model, I think you could get a lot more business people on board. And not only that, I think you could get them to contribute their time and their business acumen even more. And they'll get excited about it. This is the world they live in. These stories that we've been hearing today, for all of you business people in the room, I know you're like, yeah, this is awesome. Let's get involved with that. So, we speak different languages, marketplace and ministry folks. We need to reform our mindset, and that's in terms of how we communicate with one another. We have different languages, we have different agendas. We can't get frustrated by this. We have to learn to communicate those differences and embrace those, and it's not all that easy. And it's also not that transparent sometimes. It reminds me just a real quick story. And I got my wife's permission to say this, by the way. My wife and I have a wonderful marriage, but it wasn't always like that. You know, in the first few years of our marriage, life got real, especially when you get some little kids going and life gets real busy. And, you know, we came to this point where we just didn't understand each other. And so we decided to go talk to a counselor. And that was pretty much straight out of a movie. I mean, I remember the first time the counselor asked my wife, hey, explain something that is troubling you. And she did. And then he asked me, can you repeat that back? Sure. Is this a trick question? Here's what she said. He just smirked. Said, that's actually not what she said. Here's what she said. And he said something so far out in left field, I look at my wife and I'm like, this guy's a kook. We need to get out of here. And she's looking at me like, you're from Mars. Did you not hear what I just said? So this was very enlightening. And it's been healthy for our relationship. In fact, all of you men, you should go do that. But this is the first time that I realized that people could be saying something different than the way that I interpreted it. And that was extremely enlightening. We both had to work on this issue. It was both of our problems. And this is not that much different than some of the ministry and marketplace meetings that I've sat in. I mean, we're all surrounded by differences. The marketplace and the ministry. So we're all surrounded by differences, especially in our daily lives. Everything from the culture, the languages, the priorities, the agendas. I mean, these are different for us on a daily basis. Each group. Ministry leaders, they focus on changing lives. Primarily through relationships with Christ and other people. And marketplace people, we're talking about how do we earn more money, increase revenue, decrease expenses, make processes more efficient, the stuff that makes ministry people fall asleep. But it's still pretty important stuff, and it's stuff that we need to make sure that we're contributing on a regular basis. Now, don't think that doesn't mean that marketplace people don't love Jesus too. We love Jesus. We just have different priorities in our daily lives. Another quick story, just real quick. I remember a time when we were working on a project with a ministry partner, and a few marketplace people were working on the project. And we were asked to share the results of the project. So the marketplace people brought the meeting together, and just in our normal fashion, we start the meeting out and just kind of jump in and go at it and start talking about facts and figures and the results of the project. And at the end of the meeting, we're sitting around the table, and I'm like, there's ministry people sitting here. So I'm going to ask them about their families and their personal lives. And that didn't go over quite like I thought. They were a little taken back. In fact, they asked, hey, why did you wait until the end of the meeting to ask us about our personal lives? They were half joking, but they were only half joking. I mean, the ministry meetings that I've participated in generally have this component of relationship development at the beginning, which isn't bad. It's not bad. It's just foreign to the way that we generally run our meetings, if we run them at all. Right, Pete? I'm picking on marketplace guys because I'm a marketplace guy. That this is a two-way street. I can't tell you how many times that I've personally seen marketplace leaders, great marketplace leaders. They've attended ministry meetings. They've sat through 30 to 45 minutes of this relationship development. They don't say anything because they don't even know what to say. They just don't come back. And they not only check out of that meeting, they check out of volunteering, and maybe they even check out of the church or the ministry that they're helping with. It's so important that we recognize these differences, and we have to have candid conversations about it. We have to combine our efforts to tackle these complex issues together. And that's not an easy thing. So how do we do this? Well, I don't exactly know. I don't think anyone does. But I do know that those conversations have to start in the church. And we have to bring marketplace people in. And I also think you need a translator. I think it's very important that you have a translator help you navigate some of these differences. Very few organizations that I've worked with help translate these differences better than Significant Matters. Tom has worked with our church to develop a strategy around Missions 3.0, and it's been really a very amazing experience and very enlightening experience. He's been a pastor for over 30 years, so he gets it. He's worked with guys like me, marketplace guys, for well over 10 years with Significant Matters, and it gives him a unique perspective that's helped him navigate our differences and really kind of see this conversation from both sides. His perspective, it's helped us develop the structures and strategies that we need as a church to create more of a long-term impact through our church missions. And the long-term impact is so important, especially that it's a positive long-term impact, and that resonates with marketplace people. I feel like it's God's desire for the church to embrace the marketplace and the ministry to come together. Without the experience of the marketplace leaders to help develop strategies, and without the ministry leaders' ability to mobilize the church, I don't think that we can create the type of significant, sustainable impact that God desires for our church to create. So I'm asking business leaders, any kind of marketplace leader, when you're volunteering your time or your talent or your business acumen, and you come into those meetings, humble yourself a little bit. Don't come in acting like you know it all, because you don't. I know that firsthand. I don't know much at all. Humble yourself. Try to listen in ways you haven't before. Work through issues in ways that you've not experienced before. Pastors, don't brush us off because we prioritize relationships differently. Marketplace people, they have a lot to contribute. We need to be invited into that conversation. Consider being part of this Missions 3.0 network that Significant Matters is putting together. It really helps churches move their missions towards sustainable solutions. We all can do amazing things if we learn to work together. None of us would be doing what we're doing. We wouldn't be in our jobs today. We wouldn't be going overseas and dedicating all of our time. We wouldn't be volunteering our time if we didn't want to help. All of us want to help. It's worth it. We have to work together to create positive, long-term, and sustainable transformation for those lives in need. Thank you very much.